Hi, 5th grade. Mrs. Pecora here, back with Roald Dahl's The Witches. So we left off our main character. He was in the ballroom, and he discovered he was among the convention of witches, and they started taking off their wigs, they started taking off their face, they started taking off their shoes. So let's see what happens next in The Witches by Roald Dahl. You may remove your wigs, snarled the Grand High Witch. She had a peculiar way of speaking. There was some sort of foreign accent there, something harsh and guttural, and she seemed to have trouble pronouncing the letter W. As well as that, she did something funny with the letter R. She would roll it around and around her mouth like a piece of hot pork cackling before spitting it out. Remove your wigs and get some fresh air onto your spotty scalps, she shouted. And another sigh of relief arose from the audience as all the hands went to the head, and all the wigs, with the hats still on them, were lifted away. There now appeared in front of me, row upon row of bald female heads, a sea of naked scalps, every one of them red and itchy looking, from being rubbed by the linings of the wigs. I simply cannot tell you how awful they were. And somehow the whole sight was made more grotesque because underneath the frightful, scabby, bald heads, the bodies were dressed in fashionable and rather pretty clothes. It was monstrous. It was unnatural. Oh, heavens, I thought. Oh, help. Oh, Lord, have mercy on me. These foul, bald-headed females are child killers, every one of them, and here I am imprisoned in the same room, and I can't escape. At that point, a new and doubly horrifying thought struck me. My grandmother had said that with their special nose holes, they could smell out a child on a pitch-black night from right across the other side of the road. Up to now, my grandmother had been right every time. It seemed a certainty, therefore, that one of the witches in the back row was going to sniff me out at any moment, and then the yell of dogs' droppings would go up all over the room, and I would be cornered like a rat. I knelt on the carpet behind the screen, hardly daring to breathe. Then suddenly I remembered another very important thing my grandmother had told me. The dirtier you are, she had said, the harder it is for a witch to smell you out. How long since I had last a bath? Not for ages. I had my own room in the hotel, and my grandmother never bothered with silly things like that. Come to think of it, I don't think I have had a bath since we arrived. When had I last washed my hands or face? Oops, sorry, boys and girls, I skipped a page there. Certainly not this morning. Not yesterday either. I glanced down at my hands. They were covered with smudge and mud and goodness knows what else besides. So perhaps I had a chance after all. The stink waves couldn't possibly get out through all that dirt. Witches of Inkland! Shouted the Grand High Witch. She herself, I noticed, had not taken off either her wig or her gloves or her shoes. Witches of Inkland! She yelled. The audience stirred uneasily and sat up straighter in their chairs. Miserable witches, she yelled. Useless, lazy witches, feeble, frivering witches. You're a heap of idle, good-for-nothing vrums. A shudder went through the audience. The Grand High Witch was clearly in an ugly mood, and they knew it. I had a feeling that something awful was going to happen soon. I am having my breakfast this morning, cried the Grand High Witch, and I'm looking out the window at the beach, and what am I not seeing? I am asking you, what am I seeing? I am seeing a very revolting sight. I'm seeing hundreds, I'm seeing thousands of rotten, repulsive little children playing on the sand. It is putting me right off my food. Why have you not got rid of them? She screamed. Why have you not rubbed them all out, these filthy, smelling children? With each word she spoke, flecks of pale blue phlegm shot from her mouth like little bullets. I'm asking you why, she screamed. Nobody answered her question. Children smell, she screamed. They stink up the world. We do not want these children around here. The bald heads in the audience all nodded vigorously. When a child reek, it is no good to me, the Grand Witch cried out. Is that the best you can do? We will do better, murmured the audience. We will do much better. Better is no good either, shrieked the Grand High Witch. I demand maximum results. So here are my orders. My orders are that every single child in the country shall be rubbed out, squashed, squitted, and frittered before I come here again in 1 year's time. Do I make myself clear? A great gasp went up from the audience. I saw the witches all looking at one another with deeply troubled expressions, and I heard one witch at the end of the front row saying aloud, "All of them? We can't possibly wipe out all of them." The Grand High Witch whipped round as though someone had struck a skewer into her bottom. "Who said that?" she snapped. "Who dares to argue with me? It was you, was it not?" She pointed a gloved finger, as sharp as a needle, at the witch who had spoken it. I didn't mean it, your grandness," the witch cried out. I didn't mean to argue. I was just talking to myself." "You dared to argue with me!" screamed the Grand High Witch. "I was just talking to myself," cried the wretched witch. "I swear it, your grandness." She began to shake with fear. The Grand High Witch took a quick step forward, and when she spoke again, it was in a voice that made my blood run cold. "A stupid witch who answers back must burn until her bones are black," she screamed. "No, no, no," begged the witch in the front row. The Grand High Witch went on. "A foolish witch without a brain must sizzle in the fiery flame." "Save me!" cried the wretched witch in front row. The Grand High Witch took no notice of her. She spoke again. "An idiotic witch like you must roast upon the barbecue." "Forgive me, oh grandness," cried the miserable culprit. "I didn't mean it." But the Grand High Witch continued with her terrible recital. "A witch who dares to say I'm wrong will not be with us very long." A moment later, a stream of sparks that looked like tiny white-hot metal filings came shooting out of the Grand High Witch's eyes and flew straight towards the one who dared to speak. I saw the sparks striking against her and burrowing into her, and she screamed a horrible howling scream, and a puff of smoke rose up around her. A smell of burning meat filled the room. Nobody moved. Like me, they were all watching. Oops, sorry, boys and girls. Pages are sticking. They were all watching the smoke, and when it cleared away, the chair was empty. I caught a glimpse of something wispy white, like a little cloud, fluttering upwards and disappearing out the window. A great sigh rose up from the audience. The Grand High Witch glared around the room. "I hope nobody else is going to make me cross today," she remarked. There was a deathly silence. "Frizzle like a fritter," said the Grand High Witch. "Cooked like a carrot. You will never see her again. Now we can get down to business." Chapter 8. Formula 86, Delayed Action Mouse Maker. Sorry, boys and girls. I don't know why this isn't centered right there. Okay. Oops. "Children are revolting," screamed the Grand High Witch. "We will wipe them all away. We will scrub them off the face of the earth. We will flush them down the drain." "Yes, yes," chanted the audience. "Wipe them away, scrub them off the earth, flush them down the drain." "Children are foul and filthy," thundered the Grand High Witch. They are," chorused the English witches. "They are foul and filthy." "Children are dirty and stinky," screamed the High Witch. "Dirty and stinky," cried the audience, getting more and more worked up. "Children are smelling of dogs' droppings," screeched the Grand High Witch. "Pooh!" cried the audience. "Pooh, pooh, 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 pooh." "They are worse than dogs' droppings," screeched the Grand High Witch. "Dog droppings is smelling like violets and primroses compared with children." "Violets and primroses," chanted the audience. They were clapping and cheering almost every word spoken from the platform. The speaker seemed to have them completely under her spell. "To talk about children is making me sick," screamed the Grand High Witch. "I'm feeling sick even thinking about them. Fetch me a basin." The Grand High Witch paused and glared at the mass of eager faces in the audience. They waited, wanting more. "So now," barked the Grand High Witch, "so now I am having a plan. I am having a giganticus plan for getting rid of every single child in the whole of England." The witches gasped. They gaped. They turned and gave each other ghoulish grins of excitement. All right, boys and girls, we have to stop there. So we'll continue tomorrow with her plan of how she's going to get rid of all the children of the world. Have a great day.